Welcome to Football Conspiracies.
I'm Jared Cole.
And I'm Jared Rabinovich.
This week's episode, The Chunky Soup Curse. Alrighty, welcome listeners to this week's episode. So, because the football season is starting up again, and a lot more news is coming out during the week, we're going to be adding this segment to the beginning of some episodes, not all, called Tinfoil Hat News, where I'm going to bring a topic to Jared, or Jared's going to bring a topic to me that's a little more day-to-day relevant rather than a history-focused thing. Alright, so with the end of the Olympics coming around, I think we have to bring up America's most controversial athlete, Noah Lyles.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Noah Lyles is a world champion American short distance runner.
He recently won the 100 gold medal.
Yes.
Yeah, so when Noah Lyles made his comment about the quote-unquote world champ not applying to the NBA championship, he also said that it applied to the Super Bowl because it's a US-based sport, it's not a world sport. And so when this was brought to Tyreek's attention on the Up and Adams show, Tyreek said, "I would beat Noah Lyles in a race."
There's no way Tyreek would beat Noah Lyles in a race.
There
There's
is no way, but tell me that is not something you want to see.
Of course I want to see it, the same way I wanted to see Michael Phelps race a shark, but we didn't get that either. Lyles is technically right. The Super Bowl champs are not the world champs, but if you really want to put together an all-American football team and put them up against the rest of the world, I think we know who are going to be the football champs. I guess we'll see that in LA in 2028. All that being said, Tyreek's take that he could beat Noah Lyles in a race is so fucking stupid.
No, there is no way that he is even coming close to Noah Lyles in a race.
Like, that is a awful take by Tyreek.
I mean, I love great confidence. That's what you want. That's a wide receiver mentality, though.
For sure. But, like, he's getting on Noah Lyles for being cocky, and then he says that shit. You know, it's kind of a little redundant, if you ask me. For the past few weeks, we've been on a bit of a kick of curse episodes, and I want to keep that theme going a little bit. The past couple curses we covered, that being the Madden curse and the Super Bowl hangover curse, are rather well-known pieces of NFL lore. Both have garnered a significant amount of attention from the football world and are well-known, if not widely known, among the community of NFL fans. This week, however, I'm coming to you with a curse that may not have nearly as many eyes on it, but that does not mean it should be taken any less seriously. Today, we will be speaking about the Chunky Soup Curse. J. Cole, do you have any idea what the Chunky Soup Curse is?
I'm sort of familiar, but the theory behind the curse is so outlandish that I want you to explain it properly without me spoiling it.
That's totally fair, and I agree with your statement of it being outlandish, because I actually don't think I can describe it the best. For that, I'm going to quote John, who posted on chunkysoupcurse.com on the 14th of June, 2006. The Chunky Soup Curse is the belief that every NFL player who endorses Campbell's Chunky Soup will suffer a rash of career or even life-threatening injuries, failure on the field, humiliation, and ultimately defeat. Strangely, the curse does not directly stand in the way of success. It just mangles you, and eventually the mangling causes failures. So what do you think of that description?
So basically they're saying that if you star in a Chunky Soup commercial or you endorse Chunky Soup, then your career will end at some point.
Well, no, they're saying, similar to other curses, that something bad will happen to your career.
Yeah, but it doesn't take away from the good. They're saying it only adds bad.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit more vague than
So basically, I can endorse Chunky Soup, go on to win a couple of Super Bowls, and then get injured and be like, oh no, I'm cursed, but I won a couple of Super Bowls?
That's not the narrative that the majority of victims of this curse have gone to play out. That being said, yeah, kind of. Yeah, you're kind of right about that. This isn't like the most serious curse you're ever going to come across. It's called the chunky soup curse. Take it for what it is.
No, but I love that the curse doesn't take away from the good. Like, usually the curses we're covering have taken away good. Like, they've made teams bad. Rather, these have, like, made players get injured but not bad.
Yes, that's about right. There's a little bit more to it than that, and we'll break down the actual logic behind this curse shortly. So, like you quickly noticed, I understand that the explanation of the curse is absolutely ridiculous, but a few of the things in there likely piqued the curiosity of some of our listeners, so I will attempt to answer some of the questions that I had as well. First things first, I must mention how much of a rabbit hole this curse has managed to suck me down. Whenever I do research for these episodes, I generally come across about 3 topics for each one I end up choosing that I would love to speak about, but I simply cannot find enough information to write a compelling episode about them. When I first came across this one, I thought for sure there'd be no way I can make a full episode about this. I would soon realize how foolish I had been.
Yeah, I looked into this to make a post segment, and I hadn't gotten very far. Like, in my notes just says chunky soup curse, and that is as much research as I've put into it. So it's crazy to find out that there's a full episode out of this.
Yeah, I mean, when I first looked at them, I found like a couple, shitty sites that looked like some guy who was like mangled on Red Bull at 3 a.m. programmed in like 2005 talking about it, but there was really not much good information until I found the source I referenced earlier. This might have piqued your interest a little when I said it, but you caught when I referenced chunkysoupcurse.com.
Yeah, that is a great name for a website.
Yeah, it truly is, and it serves, like exactly what you expect is what you get. When doing research, I came across a couple hilarious articles about this curse, and one of them referenced this website, which is what brought me here to begin with. Upon seeing the reference in the article, the first thing I did was type in the URL, way too compelling to give up on.
Of course.
I was disappointed to find the classic "this site can't be reached" message alongside the stupid little sad-faced piece of paper icon that they have on Chrome. The one you can't even play the primitive version of Flappy Bird with. To say the least, I was pretty livid.
But you found it.
I quickly realized that we no longer live in 1904, and this, as a matter of fact, is the future. So I booted up the Wayback Machine and went digging for this now defunct website. After roughly 20 seconds of research, I had found the jackpot. ChunkySoupCurse.com seems to have come online somewhere in the 2006 time range. This is based on the fact that the earliest posts on the website I was able to find are from 2006. While I am unsure who the true originator of the website is, we may refer to this hero as simply John, as every post on the website was published by the same person who chooses to only go by their given name, or alias, who knows, John. And he was the person who I quoted earlier when giving you the description of the curse itself.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in 2006... you didn't have blogs, you had websites.
Exactly. And I kind of fell in love with this man, John. It's hard to explain. You guys have seen how afflicted I've been with @NFL_memes throughout the journey of this podcast, and he really seems like a true journeyman, someone who should be on that Mount Rushmore of NFL conspiracies. And this John guy, I put him right up there with the best.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This guy's a goat. I'm telling you.
Okay, I want to see his work.
So for those of you who want a little more context on the website pretty much this entire episode will be based off of and how reliable it may be, I will now have J. Cole describe the images that are used as the sidebar for the website. Keep in mind, these images appear on every single page of the entire site.
All right, it looks like a nutritional facts label. Serving size, 1 NFL career, average, 4.5 years. Victims to date, 15. So I'm guessing these are the 15 victims of the Chunky Soup curse.
That would be correct.
So we have 1 dead, 1 nearly killed. We have 3 careers ended. We have 4 still playing, but really, really suck. We have 1 who played for the Arizona Cardinals. We have 1 who played with Terrell Owens. And we have 2 who choked in the Super Bowl. Ingredients include All-Pro National Football League careers, Campbell Chunky Soup, film camera, television commercial, promising life. Slogan, stop the soup. A separate quote on the page. I know the soup is dangerous, but so is leaving football broke. LaDainian Tomlinson, running back of the San Diego Chargers, on why it is okay to endorse an evil, cursed soup that has killed and will kill again.
So what do you think of that as the sidebar that appears on every single web page of this entire site?
That is hard.
It's pretty hard. I'm giving you that. At this point, I feel like I've spent far too much time gushing at this random website that looks like it was designed using Windows 95, and it is time to dig into the curse this episode is actually planned to be about. That being said, I have every intention of returning to the sheer absurdity of this website and all of the joy it brought me later in this episode. On its surface, the Chunky Soup curse is very similar to pretty much every other curse we've spoken about on this podcast. Like we were discussing earlier, you said that there's a couple slight differences, but I'll see if you agree with me on this. I wrote a little bit of a curse formula, which goes, a player does something which causes something bad happens to the player shortly thereafter. Do you think that's about right?
Yeah, that is how curses work.
Exactly. I think some of the team curses may be a little bit different, but in terms of like the Madden curse, exactly.
Yeah.
This is generally how it goes. In this case, however, the player's downfall is caused by their choice to endorse Campbell's Chunky Soup. For the remainder of this explanation, I'll be relying upon the What is the Curse webpage on chunkysoupcurse.com. While I did find several other articles and sources speaking about the curse, all of which were quite funny in and of themselves, I would be remiss if I did not give the listeners the information straight from the primary source itself. As the prolific John tells the story, the Chunky Soup curse took its first victim in the 90s, but people did not begin to recognize it as a curse until 2002. Before 2002, the only 2 players to be afflicted by the curse were Terrell Davis in 1998 and Kurt Warner in 2001. According to John, the reasons these injuries did not set off any alarm bells was because, and I'm quoting now, Davis had a history of bad knees. It's why he was drafted in the 6th round. Warner, well, he used to play for the Iowa Barnstormers and the University of Northern Iowa, a defunct feed bag factory refurbished to work as a diploma mill. 2 Super Bowl appearances in 3 years were seen as 2 more than Warner had any right to.
Oh my god.
Yeah, this guy's just absolutely tearing down families here. It's beautiful.
That's mean.
It's so funny. This entire website's full of gems like this.
Like, Kurt Warner wasn't the greatest, but he went to the Pro Bowl a couple of times. Like, he was a decent quarterback.
Yeah, but according to John, he was from a defunct feed bag factory refurbished to work as a diploma mill. So what does that make you think of him?
In that 2001 season that you just mentioned, he went 14-2.
Well, yeah, it's the 2002 season where the curse hit him.
Oh yeah, 0-6.
Exactly. Oof. We'll be getting to there in a moment. So moving on to the 2002 season that actually defined the Chunky Soup curse as John would like us to know it today. Donovan McNabb, Brian Urlacher, and Michael Strahan, all newly minted Campbell's Chunky Soup spokespeople, all suffered from the Chunky Soup curse. Once again, quoting from the legend Who is John. McNabb appeared safe until late in the season, then his ankle was inexplicably broken when it got hit by a safety. Safeties are those little guys you see hanging off gigantic tight ends on those really funny pass plays near the goal line. Urlacher did 1 commercial in 2002, and he paid late in the season, suffering through a shoulder stringer. His stats would fall off over the next several years. He continued to dabble in small, chunky events and paid the price in 2004, missing 7 games. For Strahan, who before endorsing Chunky had set the NFL single-season sack record, the curse took longer. He started out with a small role alongside other players and eventually was featured spokesman. Chunk tore Strahan's pectoral muscle in 2004.
Okay, 1 sec. We need to pause and scroll back up for a sec.
Yeah.
Because you said something and you were on a roll, so I couldn't interrupt you.
Yeah.
But the thing where you explained what safeties are.
Oh, I'm just quoting John here. Safeties
this is John explaining what safeties are.
Oh, I didn't feel the need to explain to our NFL listening audience what a safety is. But John,
no, that explanation of safeties is so funny.
Yes, it is. It is. I wish I came up with it on my own, but this truly is all the genius of John, the creator.
John has earned his spot on the football conspiracies Mount Rushmore.
Unquestionably, and I can't even explain to you how little of this iceberg you have witnessed. Like, we have scratched the surface.
All right, let's keep going. I just needed to stop and talk about that explanation of what safeties are, because it was perfect.
Oh, absolutely. So at this point, it is worth mentioning that this curse goes a lot deeper than the average curse that says A plus B equals C. There seems to be levels to this curse you don't often, if ever, see in other theories. From ChunkySoupCurse.com, J. Cole, do you want to read this quote?
The curse also seems proportional to how featured a player is in the ads. Players featured in campaigns alongside other players dilute the effect. Doing more commercials increases the effect.
So now we've added another layer onto this curse. The first thing you pointed out earlier that's a little fishy about this curse is good things can still happen to you after you've been cursed. But another layer adding onto this is the dilution of curses based on how many co-stars you have in your given Chunky Soup commercial. I just thought it was a nice little fold that John added to the story.
Yeah, I mean, adding another layer to a curse is always fun to see, and if this is still only scratching the surface.
And, like, it's adding more folds to something that's already complete bullshit. Like, I just love that, you know? He's just adding ingredients to this, like, bullshit pie he's making. It's beautiful. The best evidence for this can be seen using the 3 players just mentioned who were all affected by the curse in 2002. For Strahan's and Urlacher's part, both players ended their association with Campbell's Chunky Soup and were both recovered from their maladies. McNabb, on the other hand, was not nearly as wise. He chose to continue endorsing the product and was given the fate of one who chooses to continue their communion with the devil, as John described the fate that befell Donovan McNabb. McNabb has continued endorsing the product, and it makes his life worse than Steve Buscemi's life in the movie Fargo. McNabb went on to the Super Bowl and nearly defeated the quasi-evil New England Patriots. But during the game, he was sick as hell. Plus, he had to play with Terrell Owens, voted People magazine's ugliest asshole of 2004. By the end of 2005, it was clear that Chunky Soup is trying to kill Donovan McNabb. Apparently, a Syracuse education, well better than the NFL standard, doesn't make you smart enough to avoid endorsing Chunky Soup. What do you think of that?
I trust John.
See, the thing about John is you probably shouldn't trust most of the things he says.
Everything he says is gospel.
Got a modern day John the Baptist over here.
Literally.
So the fate that befell these 3 last players I just mentioned is the large basis of this Chunky Soup curse that John has managed to extrapolate into this just never-ending tale of stories, and it's just labyrinthine as hell. I'm really only explaining to you guys like the super basic aspects of this right now, but before I get into the next victim we're going to cover, I just need to mention that these 3 players that we see get injured in 2002, this is like really the core of the theory.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is like everything after this is starting to be a little stretchy.
Not quite, actually. Like, we're really only covering what I would consider the core of this theory in this episode. That being said, like, those 3 are like the pinnacle of what John has.
Okay.
Right?
They're like, yeah, his proof. And
exactly.
Everything is based off that.
Exactly.
Proof.
It's also because this is what started the theory.
Yeah.
People didn't notice when, 2 players who had endorsed Chunky Soup got injured within 3 years, but 3 times in 1 year, it's a little different.
Once is just a thing. Twice is a coincidence. 3 times is a pattern.
Exactly. And John found his pattern in the 2002 season.
All right, so the next victim, because there are 15.
Yes, we're not actually going to go over all 15 victims now for reasons I'll explain shortly. But right now, we are going to move on to the next victim, who would be Reggie White. This case, by pretty much every standard, provides no proof for the curse. The writing of John was simply too entertaining for me to leave this section out. Would you like to read this quote for the audience?
White took the endorsement in 1997, initiating the current campaign by Campbell's to destroy the NFL one spoonful at a time. The results, as can be imagined, were awful. Soon, Reggie White, once the most feared defensive lineman in professional football, fell off the map like Nina Pinta in Santa Marina, sailing into the ocean full of sea serpents. In 1997, White began displaying the physical deterioration now known to be a side effect of endorsing chunky. By the end of the 1998 season, White became so depleted by endorsing chunky soup that he retired. In 2000, White's mental state began to lapse. Claiming to hear the voice of God, White unretired and played for the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers finished with a staggering -4 wins and 20 losses. The NFL assessed an additional 4 losses on their record for what Commissioner Paul Tagliabue described as suctitude. White once again retired after hearing that God was really talking to Kurt Warner. 100% truth and gospel. I believe that happened.
I'm telling you, this man speaks like, I don't know, like it's from his mouth God's words pour.
Well, actually, God was talking to Kurt Warner.
Oh, yeah, I apologize. Yeah, you know what? Only Kurt would be able to truly tell us what God is up to. The article then goes on to blame Chunky Soup for Reggie White's death from cardiac arrhythmia in 2004. I had the same reaction. Yeah.
Like, if that's the second you endorse Chunky Soup, like, no matter what happens to you, it's because of the soup.
Well, do you remember how you read in the nutrition facts, Dead One?
Yeah.
You know who that one is. It's Reggie White, who died of natural causes in 2004. But it wasn't natural causes. It was the Chunky Cabal.
It was the Chunky Soup Cabal.
For fear of this episode running too long, I will, for now, cover one more person who fell prey to the Chunky Soup curse. I mentioned earlier that I would explain to you why I chose these specific players, and now I'll explain why. And the reason is because of John, the ostensible creator of the Chunky Soup curse. He chose these players as the poster boys of the curse. They are the ones most referred to on the website and the ones most referred to in articles speaking about the curse. There are far more victims and folds to this tale. Trust me, the plot does get thicker, but speaking about these players serves as a great introductory lesson for those who are uninitiated in the world of soup curses. The last man we'll be speaking about is Ben Roethlisberger.
Easily a top 5 quarterback of the 2010s.
Oh, no questions asked, as far as I'm concerned. Big Ben, he was the man.
Exactly. He couldn't run to save his life.
He was truly an impeccable player with an impeccable career, which might make it even odder that he was hit by this curse, let alone any curse at all. So for those familiar with the NFL, like I was saying, it may be a little odd to see Roethlisberger included in this curse. After all, like J. Cole just said, he had a rather illustrious NFL career capped off by 2 Super Bowl wins. But the case for Campbell's coming after Roethlisberger may actually be stronger than most. While Roethlisberger never had a career-ending injury or even a lasting downturn in his playing performance, both hallmarks of a curse like we were just speaking about, something else did happen to him. In 2006, Ben Roethlisberger experienced a nearly fatal crash when his motorcycle collided with a car while he was not wearing a helmet. He was given 7 hours of surgery for multiple facial fractures, but was miraculously in stable condition afterwards. So you're probably asking yourself now, how does this have anything to do with Campbell's Chunky Soup?
They destroyed his brakes so that he would crash and then he would get injured because Chunky Soup is trying to kill their athletes.
Which is a totally fair assumption. But at this point, Roethlisberger had actually never been publicly associated with the soup brand before. But what is fishy is that Roethlisberger was scheduled to film a Chunky Soup commercial less than 24 hours after his horrifying motorcycle incident. Was this merely a coincidence or the inner workings of the Campbell cabal? We may never know, but John seems certain the two are connected.
Yeah, there's someone or a group of someones out there who really don't like specific athletes when they do Chunky Soup commercials.
Yes, exactly. And I would understand why. So, what was the purpose of this episode?
Wait, before we finish, I have a serious question to ask.
I would love to hear it.
Because this is the Chunky Soup episode, it would not seem right if we don't mention the 2 most recent Chunky Soup commercial athletes.
I agree with that, but I think we should save this for a later discussion.
Okay.
Because something that I discovered through this episode is ChunkySoupCurse.com has a little bit more than just the Chunky Soup curse. It has about, I want to say, almost 200 articles dedicated to NFL bullshit, conspiracies, satire, nothingness. It's amazing. This website is now gone, unfortunately, and there's no way for me to get in contact with this elusive John, but I promise you and the listeners that we will be revisiting this curse. We will be revisiting the other victims who have been ailed by it, and not only that, we are going to be doing a deep dive on the archives of this website, because I need to do the best thing I can to an MRI on this man's brain. I just want to live in there for a day.
That is unreal. I can't wait for the website episode.
Exactly, because what I thought was going to be a 10-minute part of a much larger episode, you have provided me with a never-ending well of content. Thank you, John.
There you go. Thank you, John.
So, what was the purpose of this episode? Primarily, it was to get a good laugh. This is rather evidently a satirical theory that is not meant to be taken seriously. But as the listeners have probably noticed by this point in the podcast, I usually like to imbue some sort of lesson in these episodes, and I don't want to leave the listeners completely empty-handed. Because when I think about this theory, it represents a lot more than just, a satirical thing that this guy John, whoever he is, did for a laugh. Because satire does nothing if it doesn't critique something real. While I'm not sure what John's intention was when writing these articles, it seems pretty clear to me that, at least partly, he wanted to convey a message about the stupidity of curses and the stranglehold they have on some fans. This is first and foremost a joke, but it is also a lesson in satire and in commentary on a large sect of NFL fans. It actually reminds me a lot of the satire displayed on the Colbert Report by Stephen Colbert when he acts as this right-wing character in order to mess with the people on his show, but really it's just a satire of people in that era of the right wing.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think this guy is kind of trying to make fun of the tinfoil hat people within the NFL community by creating this just absolutely absurd amount of theories, and truly, this is a virtual version of the cork board with strings on it from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
It's also funny to think because this website was started in 2006?
Exactly. And defunct in 2019 or 2020. It hasn't been around for a while. The only reason I was able to find this is through the Wayback Machine. So this is truly a relic here.
Wow.
Exactly. And I'm really honored to make sure that this doesn't just fall into the ether of the internet, and we're able to revive the creativity and the genius of John.
You just found lost media, Jared.
Yes, I did, and I'm proud of it.
Yes, and I can't wait.
My history degree is coming in handy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can't wait for a deep dive on this website.
Don't worry.
It's going to be wild.
You're going to get it, and there's a whole lot more juicy content where this came from.
All right, welcome listeners to my segment of the podcast. Usually I would give my introduction, but we're not going to be doing anything that revolves putting on a tinfoil hat.
Oh my gosh.
We are just going to talk about some funny football, because funny football.
Flipping the script on me. Okay.
Yeah, okay, so who doesn't love a good nickname? If you've noticed so far, Jared calls me J. Cole because of the famous rapper J. Cole.
Yes.
We call Jared J-Rab or Ravo because of his last name, and it works.
Yes, exactly.
So those are pretty boring relatively to some of these nicknames that I'm going to give to you today.
Oh, I'm so in for this segment.
Okay, so the first one I'm going to start off with is Joe Montana. So famously, he went by the nickname Comeback Kid or Joe Cool.
Yeah, of course.
Just
Joe Cool is
because
like...
his ability to stay calm in the final minutes of games to win them. He was the OG Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, exactly.
Great story I read about how cool he was. In Super Bowl 23, the Bengals were leading the 49ers 16-13. 3 minutes and 20 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Joe Montana looks up into the crowd, taps his buddy on the shoulder and goes, "Hey, look, it's John Candy." He then went to throw 8 for 9, 97 yards, and won the game with 34 seconds remaining.
What? That's legendary. Unbelievable.
So that's why he's known as Joe Cool or Comeback Kid.
Fantastic name.
I have a better nickname for him, okay?
Like that you came up with?
No, that I found for him.
Okay.
So the San Francisco Chronicle had a contest to give Joe Montana a new nickname.
Joe McJoeface?
A contestant pointed out that Joe Montana already sounds like a nickname. So he proposed a realistic sounding name instead, suggesting David W. Gibson. Montana loved the nickname so much, he had it made as the placard that went above his locker.
David W. Gibson?
David W. Gibson.
I love that. I love that. Just give him a normal name. Oh, whoever came up with that is a genius.
Yeah, it's hilarious. And
Yeah.
it makes total sense. Joe Montana's already a nickname.
Oh, that's beautiful.
All right, so the next two guys got their nicknames for the same way. One of them was way better in the NFL than the other, but one of them was way better in college.
Okay.
So the first one is Crazy Legs.
That's a good name,
That's
sure.
a great name, because if you've ever seen Elroy Hirsch run, you would understand why they call him Crazy Legs.
I've never seen Elroy Hirsch run.
No, and I don't believe that you would have, but I have a link here.
Okay, cool.
For you.
Perfect.
So there isn't any sound to go with these videos, but the way that Elroy Hirsch runs is just, it is Crazy Legs. I mean, look at him, look at his like strides, look at his like how he runs through. Like,
I guess it's a little bit silly, but I think this is a big stretch to be calling him Crazy Legs.
well, I have some information on Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch.
Is it going to change my my view of how he runs?
I mean, it's some pretty impressive stats. So,
All right, my ears are open.
In 1951, the year he was the NFL receptions leader, receiving yards leader, receiving touchdowns leader, NFL scoring leader, and Pro Bowl, and first team All-Pro, he also won the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must be one of the greatest seasons of all time.
Yeah, he's an NFL 1950s All-Decade Team, NFL 50th Anniversary All-Time Team, NFL 100th Anniversary All-Time Team. He's in the St. Louis Football Ring of Fame.
I get it. He's good. I get it.
Yeah, he's really good. And then the second guy who also got his nickname because he was a great and fantastic runner was the Galloping Ghost.
Whoa.
Yeah, Red Grange was his name, and
That's already a great name.
he won the NFL championship in 1932 and 1933 and is considered one of the greatest Bears running backs of all time.
Sounds like
His
it.
number 77 is retired, but his highlights from Illinois are unreal.
You also got a video of that?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Again,
I
this
I can barely see anything because they all look like bugs running across static. That being said, I'm referring to the 1930s cameras this was filmed on. He is running around these guys like they are nothing. Like, it is like...
This is even better. These are 1920s cameras.
That being said, like, you can tell that this guy's just absolutely destroying everyone around him.
Yeah, and you can see why they would call him the galloping ghost. Because dude gallops and dude's a ghost.
Oh, for sure. And also, like I said, I can barely see them, but there's no way these guys are wearing helmets.
Oh no, God no. They're like the little leather cats.
Yeah, they look like rugby players.
Yeah. All right, so this next nickname is a little bit of a shorter explanation, but just as funny. When Ryan Fitzpatrick played for the Buffalo Bills, do you know what his nickname was?
I have no idea, actually.
The Amish Rifle.
What?
So because Fitzpatrick regularly has his thick beard, it drew a lot of comparisons to the Amish, who have a large community in Buffalo. And so he got bestowed the name in 2010.
That actually makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. And the final one I'm going to go with is, this last one is a very stupid nickname, but I wouldn't have found the story without looking for these nicknames, and the story is unbelievable.
Okay.
So, first of all, we have a guy named Edward Lee Jones. He is 6'9". Okay.
He sounds like he assassinated a president.
Yeah, because he goes by 3 names.
Exactly.
He played basketball. But then he tried football, and a teammate made a joke about how Ed's pants don't fit. They were way too small on him, and that was good enough to earn him the nickname Too Tall Jones.
Too Tall Jones.
Too Tall Jones.
Oh, that is such a good nickname.
Great nickname, and it really gets the point across, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I also love a nickname that makes it take longer to say a person's name, like defeats the whole purpose of it.
Yeah.
But what you gonna say? Too tall. That's great.
Exactly.
Love it. Love it.
And so he was a defensive lineman drafted first overall by Dallas in 1974. So let's take it back. In high school, he was playing basketball and his buddy said, hey, you should try football. Now he's going first overall to the Dallas Cowboys in the 1974 draft.
That's insane. You could never imagine a turnaround like that in today's age.
He became a starter in 1975 and helped Dallas win the Lombardi in 1977. But after the 1978 season, and in the prime of his career, he left football.
Why?
Jones decided to pursue the third sport that he played in high school. He became a professional boxer, going 6-0 with 5 knockouts. One of those knockouts were the Mexican heavyweight champion, who, too tall, took him down in 44 seconds.
Whoa. This guy's like an absolute legend. Multi-sport athlete.
In 1980, Too Tall announced he is coming back to football, and the Cowboys took him back.
Fuck yeah, I love a comeback story.
He was better than he was before. He was an all-pro 3 years in a row and became so defensively dominant, the NFL had to add the stat of batting the ball down in the air.
Really? He's the reason.
In 1985, at 34 years old, he had a career high in sacks at 13. He had 70 tackles and 13 blocked passes. In 1987, he led the team in sacks. He retired in 1990 after playing 15 full seasons, never missing a game. He will go down as the greatest defensive lineman in Cowboys history, and he credited the boost in his football to the switch to boxing.
Really?
Yeah, so I think we have a new contender for one of the greatest multi-sport athletes ever.
Of all time. We also have a new contender for my favorite NFL player of all time.
Yeah.
Too Tall Jones.
Too Tall Jones.
That's such a cartoon nickname.
Yeah, great nickname, great story.
Well, Too Tall Jones is definitely my favorite athlete that we've spoken about today. I have to say, David W. Gibson is by far the superior nickname. Nothing's beating that.
No, it is so funny because it's not a nickname, but
No.
it is.
Like, that's literally on level with Bodie McBoatface. Like, I made the joke, but, like, the participants in this contest just did me one better.
Yeah, some guy from the San Francisco Chronicle had an idea, and we thank him for it.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to this week's episode.
You can find us on Twitter/X at FB Conspiracies, where we will post all the graphics we spoke about during this episode.
You can also reach us by email using fbconspiracies@gmail.com.
A special thanks to Blaze for the intro and outro music.
If you enjoyed, consider leaving a review.
Join us next week for more football conspiracies. Just read it. Just read the words. The best evidence for this can be seen using the three players.
Fine.
You wrote it,
Fuck
just
you.
use
Fine.
it.
Fuck you.
You wrote it,
Fine.
just use
Yeah.
it.
Fine.